Peace be upon you and welcome to the annual Truth Promoters Ashura program for this year, 2025, which corresponds to the lunar year 1447. We welcome you to a program the likes of which we are sure you have never experienced before, a Muharram program with substance, with culture, with emotion, and entirely in English. Tonight is the 7th of Muharram. We would like to start the program this evening with a recitation from the Quran in English. The verses being recited will be displayed on the screen during the recitation, but for the benefit of those who are listening, they are: number 1, Surah al-Duha, the chapter of the morning hours, 93rd chapter of the Quran, verse number 6. Number 2, Surah al-A'raf, the chapter of the heights, 7th chapter of the Quran, verse 57. Number 3, Surah al-Baqarah, the chapter of the cow, 2nd chapter of the Quran, verse 249. Number 4, Surah al-Ma'idah, the chapter of the table spread, 5th chapter of the Quran, verse number 13. And number 5, Ziyarat Nahiya al-Muqaddasa. This segment will be available on the Islamic Digest, located at www.islamicdigest.org.
In the name of God, the Merciful, the especially merciful. Did he not find you an orphan and give you shelter? He is the one who sends the winds as good news before his mercy. When they carry heavy clouds, we drive them to a lifeless land. Then we send down water, and with it bring forth every kind of fruit. That is how we bring the dead to life, so that you may remember. When Saul set out with the armies, he said, God is going to test you with a river. Whoever drinks from it is not with me, but whoever does not taste it is truly with me, except for the one who takes just a handful. They drank from it, except for a few of them. When Talut and those who believed with him crossed it, they said, we have no strength today to face Goliath and his armies. But those who were sure they would meet God said, how many small groups have overcome great multitudes by God's permission, and God is with those who are steadfast. So because they broke their covenant, we cursed them and made their hearts hard. They distort words from their proper places and forget a part of what they were reminded of. You will always find some act of betrayal among them, except for a few, but pardon them and turn away. Truly God loves those who do good. Peace be upon the bodies left bare.
The next part of our program is a short set of poetic couplets. These have been inspired by Quranic verses related to, number 1, the divine majesty of God. Number 2, Ahlul Bayt, the holy household of the Prophet Muhammad. Number 3, verses on clarification or Tabyeen, the primary subject of our sessions this Muharram. And number 4, a line from one of the various visitation prayers, also known as Ziyarat, to Imam Hussein and the Ahlul Bayt. The verses that inspired the couplets for today are, number 1, Surah al-Duha, the chapter of the morning hours, 93rd chapter of the Quran, verse number 6. Number 2, Surah al-A'raf, the chapter of the heights, 7th chapter of the Quran, verse 57. Number 3, Surah al-Baqarah, the chapter of the cow, 2nd chapter of the Quran, verse number 249. Number 4, Surah al-Ma'idah, the chapter of the table spread, 5th chapter of the Quran, verse number 13. And number 5, Ziyarat Nahiya al-Muqaddasa. This segment will be available on the Islamic Digest, located at www.islamicdigest.org.
In the name of the one who stores oceans in the tear of an orphan. He is the Merciful, whose mercy reigns upon deserts and wraps the weak in majesty. He watched as they sealed the river, yet his light still flowed in the veins of the dying. They thirsted with patience, so that truth would not dry in the mouth of tyrants. Peace be upon the parched lips that whispered praise while angels wept.
Now we will have our main lecture for this evening. Our series this year is about Tabyeen, or the struggle for clarification. The subject for this, the 7th session in this series, is Methods and Types of Clarification. This segment will be available on the Reflections, located at www.reflections313.com.
I think it's good we start with Surah Al-Fatiha. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم منا جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر الأحد منا لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Peace be upon you, O Abu Abdullah, and upon the souls who have gathered in your courtyard. Upon you from us all is the peace of God forever, for as long as we remain, as long as night and day endure. And may God never make this our last pledge to visit you. Peace be upon Hussein and upon Ali, the son of Hussein, and upon the children of Hussein and upon the companions of Hussein. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the 7th in our series of sessions for these nights of Ashura and Arba'een on the subject of Tabyeen or clarification. As is the case with all of our other sessions, such as those on patience, the lantern of the path, or the art of supplication, it is very strongly recommended that anyone consuming this, at the very least, review the previous sessions prior to consuming this one. This is because of the nature of the discussion, the manner of discourse really does require that each part build upon the one that came before, or the ones that came before. This is to avoid confusion, misunderstanding, and any invalid assumptions that can lead to what would be the antithesis of Tabyeen. While we do have a recap for each session, the recap is highly summarized, and to truly get the full nuance, the previous sessions will really need to be consumed, studied, and reflected upon. So if I can get a salawat, we can move on to the recap.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So, in the previous session, we moved from the external demands of clarification to its internal conditions, the spiritual, the emotional, and the moral qualities necessary for truth to take root and inspire meaningful action. We began by affirming that clarification must lead to disciplined, strategic movement, not reactionary outbursts or disorganized efforts. The duty to direct such movement does not rest solely on leadership or governments, but falls especially on the circles of the conscious middle, youth, thinkers, and believers with insight and initiative. We examine the dual responsibility of mind and heart in those who seek to clarify. Intellectual strength alone is insufficient without humility, sincerity, dhikr, and good character. Clarification must be tailored to audiences, delivered with kindness, and rooted in wisdom, not condescension. As Imam as-Sadiq taught, be callers to the people without your tongues. We reflected on the example of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, who Imam Ali likened to a physician, healing not just with words, but hearts dulled by negligence. Today's clarifiers must follow this prophetic model, diagnosing ailments and offering remedies with care, precision, and purpose. We then examine the online realm, where the battle for hearts and minds now often takes place. We stress the need for believers to engage with intention, reclaiming the digital space with clarity, dignity, and creativity, but not to provoke, but instead to build. We then turn to the necessity of courage, the ability to speak truth when it is unpopular, to stand firm in the face of fear, and to reject the paralysis of political or social anxiety. Citing verses from the Quran, we affirm that only those who fear God alone will be given the discernment or the furqan to navigate sedition with clarity. We clarified a misunderstood narration of Imam Ali, often used to justify silence during turmoil. Instead, we emphasize the example of Ammar ibn Yasir, who illuminated confusion during the Battle of Siffin by moving between the hesitant and the manipulated, explaining, persuading, and clarifying without fear. From there, we address the need to avoid commotion and agitation, and instead focus on constructive clarification, speaking truth in a manner that refines rather than ridicules, that inspires solutions rather than deepens division. We highlighted how sincere and respectful speech can even aid those in power by sharpening awareness and guiding reform. Then came a call for innovation. We asserted that tabyeen, or clarification, is not mere repetition. Rather, it is the renewal of truth in every age, through modern tools, visual media, dynamic formats, and accessible language. Those who carry the message must be alert to shifts in culture and communicate in ways that resonate without diluting the message. Finally, we explored the emotive power of speech, urging that tabyeen should unite the intellect and the heart. Sincerity, sorrow, and love are not weaknesses in communication. They are the very vessels of prophetic speech. A heartless truth repels, whereas a heartfelt truth revives. We concluded with a reminder that true clarification is not cold repetition. It is an act of worship, an act of courage, and an act of creativity, carried out with trust in God, in pursuit of His pleasure, and with full awareness that truth does not speak itself. It must be carried by messengers worthy of its weight. Please give me a salawat and we move on to today's session, which is about the methods and types of clarification.
Allah salli ala Muhammad.
So, clarification or tabyeen is not simply the act of speaking. It is actually a sacred responsibility to unveil the truth with wisdom, to transmit light without distortion, and to guide without arrogance. In every era, believers are tasked not only with defending the truth, but with delivering it in the most effective way, in a way that penetrates both the intellect and the heart, without compromising its essence. The Quran does not command believers to merely speak, but rather to invite. In Quran, Surah An-Nahl, the chapter of the bee, 16th chapter of the Quran, verse 125, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "Invite to the path of your Lord with wisdom and good advice, and dispute with them in the best manner." This verse outlines not just the duty, but the method. Wisdom, good counsel, and excellent manners in disagreement. The way we speak is part of the truth we are conveying. Words that are sharp but careless may defeat an opponent, but they cannot revive a soul. Clarification, when rooted in divine purpose, becomes more than dialogue. It becomes da'wah, or rather, spiritual invitation. Imam Khamenei emphasizes that the method of clarification must evolve with the context, the audience, and the circumstances. What works in a scholarly seminary may fall flat among youth on a university campus. What inspires online may fail in a masjid. The speaker must not be obsessed with expression, but concerned with reception, how the truth is received and understood. This too is a matter of worship. For is it not the way of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, who was commanded not merely to deliver the message, but to do so with care for its reception? In the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, the chapter of the women, 4th chapter of the Quran, verse 63, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "And speak to them with impactful words that reach their souls." Speech that is baligh, or impactful, is speech that reaches beyond the ears and settles in the heart. The divine speaker is not a broadcaster of information, but a physician of souls. Imam Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, once likened the Prophet to such a physician. And again, like with all of the references in the session, you can find them all in the write-up. There are detailed citations. So in Nahj Balagha, Imam Ali is quoted to have said about Prophet Muhammad, he says, "He was a physician who traveled with his medicine, applying it wherever it was needed." This is the model for every clarifier of truth, to apply the healing of divine knowledge precisely where it is needed, not randomly and not ritualistically. So the question we must begin with is not just, what shall I say, but rather, who is listening? What are their wounds? What language do they understand? What healing do they require? This is the beginning of clarification as a science. And more than a science, it is in fact a divine art. So now let's look at tailoring the method to the audience. Clarification is not a one-way transmission. It is a relationship between the speaker and the listener, the message and the need, the heart and the heart. It is not enough to speak the truth. The truth must be received, and that requires that the clarifier understands who stands before them. The late Imam Khomeini, may God rest his pure soul, once said, "We speak to each generation in the language of its time." This principle remains vital in every age. Indeed, Imam Khamenei underscores this with a recurring insight. We must know what is on the mind of our audience, especially our youth, not just what we wish to express. A speech may be eloquent, well-referenced, even technically flawless, but if it fails to touch the concerns of those listening, it is a monologue. It is not a clarification. Sometimes the questions in a person's heart are unspoken, even unconscious. The speaker must be alert, spiritually attuned, and able to answer the question that was not asked, but that needed answering. In Quran, in Surah Ma'idah, 5th chapter of the Quran, the chapter of the table spread, verse 67, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O Messenger, convey what has been sent down to you from your Lord." Yet the verse does not say how to convey. That discretion lies with the Prophet, who would tailor his approach to the Bedouin, to the intellectual, to the repentant, and to the obstinate in different ways. He understood the hearts of people before speaking to their minds. This is why engagement with the community is essential. Clarifiers must speak with people, not at them. Imam Khamenei calls upon scholars, da'wah workers, and thinkers to sit with the youth, to request their questions, and to listen not for answers, but for needs. Indeed, in Munajat Sha'baniyah, it is written, "And make me of those whom you called, and they responded to you, and whom you observed, and they were overwhelmed by your majesty." True clarification invites such a response, not because of the speaker's brilliance, but because the speech entered a heart that had been understood and respected. And this demands more than information. It demands empathy. In the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, chapter of the cow, 2nd chapter of the Quran, verse 83, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, "And speak kindly to the people." To speak kindly is not merely to avoid harshness. Rather, it is to speak meaningfully, to match truth with tenderness, and to give people the clarity they need in the form they are able to receive. That is the first responsibility of method, to honor the audience. Please give me a salawat, and we move to the idea of the value of real-world interaction.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So in an age dominated by screens, scrolling, and shallow bursts of information, it is tempting to reduce clarification to tweets, videos, and digital statements. Yet while the online space is a tool, it is no substitute for real presence. Imam Khamenei repeatedly stresses that those engaged in Tabyeen must not restrict themselves to virtual platforms. While the digital realm provides opportunities, it cannot replicate the power of face-to-face gatherings, where souls meet, not just opinions. Clarification delivered in person carries a weight that online speech often lacks. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, did not send messages alone. He walked among the people. He spoke in markets, at homes, in battles, and in masajids, in mosques. He knew that truth delivered through a sincere presence resonates more deeply than truth mediated through impersonal channels. As the Quran reminds us, in Surah Al-Insan, the chapter of humanity or man, 76th chapter of the Quran, verse number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and we made for him, that is for humanity, hearing and sight. These faculties are not merely for consumption, they are for connection. Seeing someone's eyes, hearing the tremble or strength in their voice, watching the humility in their posture, these are all forms of communication that no screen can replicate. Moreover, the physical act of gathering for clarification is itself transformative. When youths attend lectures, participate in discussion circles, or simply sit with scholars, doubts are addressed, the emotional fog is lifted, and that feeling of isolation fades away. The words spoken may not even be new, but the experience of hearing them together reshapes the soul. This is why the pulpit, the circle of dhikr, the Friday sermons, the university forum, and even informal discussions over tea or coffee all remain indispensable instruments of Tabyeen. They allow for questions, for follow-ups, emotional cues, and genuine bonding. In Quran, in Surah Al-Imran, the chapter of the family of Imran, third chapter of the Quran, verse 159, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and consult with them in matters. This divine directive to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, is not just about consultation. It affirms the value of shared presence, mutual engagement, and the wisdom that emerges in real dialogue. Imam Khamenei prioritized visits to universities and gatherings of students. In fact, he advised all official scholars and thinkers as follows: go, speak to the people, hear their concerns, respond with compassion, let them see you. To be seen is to be remembered. To be heard in person is to be felt. Clarification in its highest form is not the recitation of correct views. It is the merging of truth with trust. And that trust is built most powerfully face to face. That said, a painful reality must be acknowledged. In many parts of the world, especially outside the Islamic Republic, a significant number of Shia centers and masajids, mosques, are no longer spaces of open discourse or sincere clarification. They are instead controlled by insular circles, what may rightly be called a corrupt clique, who marginalize those seeking to engage in authentic tabyeen, in authentic clarification. The result is a climate of suppression. Thoughtful voices are silenced, meaningful discourse is discouraged, and the pulpits are occupied by those more concerned with ceremony than truth, with ritual rather than reform. In such circumstances, webinars, virtual conferences, and online education platforms become not just permissible, but necessary. While nothing can truly replace the beauty and barakah of in-person engagement, the realities of exclusion and censorship make alternative venues vital for preserving the obligation of tabyeen, of clarification. However, let us be clear. The existence of such restrictions does not absolve the scholars, the thinkers, and other community builders of their responsibility. It only compels them to be more creative, more persistent, and more committed to finding new avenues for reaching the people with sincerity and light. Indeed, the long-term goal must be the reform of our centers and masajids, mosques, to reclaim them from those who knowingly or unknowingly have turned them into echo chambers. These are spaces where the congregation is too often kept in intellectual slumber, hanging on every word of the court speaker, without reflection, without examination, without growth. Moreover, Many such institutions prioritize the length of a program over the depth of its benefit. The focus is on ritual execution, not spiritual nourishment. Time is filled, but hearts are left empty. If we reflect honestly, we see that these very dynamics, negligence, distortion, fear of truth, and clerical complicity played a crucial role in the historical decay that culminated in the tragedy of Karbala. When the people are denied sincere clarification, when the pulpits are monopolized by opportunists, and when the rituals are performed without any reflection, the seeds of disaster are already sown. Therefore, part of the jihad of Tabyeen, the jihad of clarification today, is not only to speak, but to liberate the spaces in which speech must occur. Please give me a salawat, and we move on to the subtle power of indirect methods.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So, not every truth must be shouted. Not every clarification requires confrontation. There are times where subtlety, symbolism, and silent sincerity speak more powerfully than words. Imam Khamenei draws attention to the influence of indirect messaging, especially in the media, in storytelling, and visual narrative. A scene in a film where a dignified character quietly observes hijab or steps aside to perform ablution may stir reflection in the heart of a viewer more effectively than a direct sermon on modesty or prayer. These indirect methods are not evasions. Rather, they are invitations. They allow the truth to enter hearts through beauty, familiarity, and example. This is especially important in a world weary of overt preaching and among youth who instinctively reject hollow instruction. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, led not only by what he said, but by how he lived. His character was the Quran made manifest. As Lady Aisha famously said when she was asked about his conduct, his character was the Quran. And this is a hadith which is available across all of the hadith books of the Shia and the Sunni, and it's accepted as an accurate hadith. It is in this light that we understand the saying of Imam Sadiq, peace and blessings be upon him, where Imam Sadiq says, and we've quoted this previously throughout the series, "Be callers to the people without your tongues, so that they may see from your piety, your striving, your prayer and goodness, for that is true invitation." A man who stands to pray in public view at a meaningful moment, not theatrically, but sincerely, sends a message more potent than 1,000 exhortations. A woman who observes her hijab with dignity and grace while excelling in her profession teaches a theology of presence. A youth who shows patience, kindness, and integrity in a group setting can become a living proof of divine values. Even the Quran uses narrative, stories of past nations, prophets, and individuals to teach by indirection, prompting the listener to draw their own conclusions. In the Quran, in Surah Yusuf, the chapter of Joseph, 12th chapter of the Quran, verse number 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, "We narrate to you the best of stories." This is divine storytelling, teaching not by command, but by encounter. And it is a method we must recover. In the age of media saturation, subtle signs, consistent, meaningful, and sincere can cut through the noise. Not every viewer will be changed by a lecture, but many will be touched by a moment, a gesture, a line of poetry, a gaze of sincerity, or a beautifully made scene. The key is this: do not underestimate the role of indirect methods in Tabyeen, in clarification, for often it is the unspoken truth that lingers longest in the heart. Let us now look at the idea of formation of gatherings, strategic collective engagement. So from the earliest days of Islam, gathering together for the sake of God has been a source of light, resistance, and revival. Whether in the house of al-Arqam, and again, anyone who doesn't know what the house of al-Arqam is, in the write-up there is there's detailed information in the footnote, and that would be footnote 21 for the record. So whether this meeting was in the house of al-Arqam during the Meccan years, in the circles of the Mosque of Medina, or in the mournful majalis of Ahl al-Bayt, the act of gathering has always been central to the act of clarification. Imam Khamenei affirms this tradition, urging the formation of purposeful, planned intellectual gatherings, especially those that bring together university students, seminary students, scholars, and cultural voices. Such gatherings should not be reactive or disorganized. They must be spaces of reflection, synthesis, and strategy. They are not just forums, they are workshops of revival. In these circles, clarification is not only delivered, in fact, it is developed. Ideas are tested, language is refined, and intellectual trust is built. These spaces allow Tabyeen to move from the individual to the collective, from the pulpit to the public. The Quran teaches us, Surah Al-Ma'idah, the chapter of the table spread, 5th chapter of the Quran, verse number 2. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, cooperate with one another in righteousness and God consciousness. Strategic cooperation in thought, speech, and action is a necessity, especially in the face of coordinated cultural and ideological warfare. These gatherings must not be confined to formal halls or institutional places. They can and should take place in homes, student rooms, community centers, and even virtual platforms where sincere hearts and clear minds meet. The goal is not prestige, it is preparation. Moreover, gatherings must be conducted with discipline and foresight. Imam Khamenei cautions against emotionalism and unplanned activism, especially in student protests or politically charged or with regard to politically charged issues. While presence is vital, it must be guided by knowledge and principle, not provocation. In the Quran, in Surah Al-Isra, the chapter of the night journey, 17th chapter of the Quran, verse number 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. It is better to gather 10 sincere, informed individuals than to rally a crowd without direction. The impact of a few voices rooted in understanding is greater than a multitude moved only by emotion. The Imam of our time, may our souls be his ransom, is not awaiting a mass of followers. He is awaiting a prepared and principled core. And such preparation begins in gatherings of minds and hearts aligned with divine purpose. So let the majlis, the study circles, the analysis forums, and the strategic meetings continue, and may they be infused with the sincerity of those who seek not to win arguments, but to revive the ummah. Please give me a salawat and we move on to the idea of intellectual committees and thinking before we speak.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So clarification is not a spontaneous outburst. Rather, it is a structured response, born of reflection, rooted in truth, and directed towards transformation. To clarify effectively in any age, but especially in times of sedition, distortion, and ideological warfare, we must first think together. Imam Khamenei identifies the critical need for intellectual committees at all levels of society, from the national leadership to the grassroots mobilization. These are not bureaucratic councils or dry academic boards. They are spaces where committed believers come together to examine reality, assess priorities, refine language, and formulate the boundaries of responsibility. In a time of soft war, where deception is more dangerous than bullets and missiles, and cultural confusion more paralyzing than military defeat, intellectual readiness is the front line. In Quran, in Surah Al-Mujadala, the chapter of the pleading woman, 58th chapter of the Quran, verse number 11, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, God raises those who have faith among you and those who have been given knowledge in ranks. To be among the ranks of those who clarify is to be among those who think before they speak, who consult before they act, and who act with understanding, not impulse. These intellectual committees are not elitist think tanks. They must exist at two levels. At the top, to assess national and global strategies, anticipate threats, and offer guidance to leadership. And number two, at the grassroots, within mosques, within student bodies, community centers, activist groups, and media circles. Both are essential. A tree needs roots as much as it needs a crown. Imam Khamenei draws a powerful contrast between hard war and soft war. In hard war, the body may be shattered, but the soul ascends. In soft war, the body remains unscathed, but the soul may be dragged to ruin. The former demands bravery. The latter demands clarity. The soft war is not less violent. It is merely less visible. It requires its own commanders, planners, analysts, and cultural combatants. Without thought, resistance becomes erratic. Without coordination, Tabyeen becomes confused. Without committees, speech loses its sequence, and action loses its direction. This is not a modern invention. It is a continuation of the Shura consultation model upheld in the Quran. In Quran, in Surah Ashura, the chapter of consultation, 42nd chapter of the Quran, verse number 38, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and their affairs are conducted by mutual consultation. We must move from reactive individualism to disciplined collective thought. Those who speak on behalf of truth must first sit with one another, not only to validate their positions, but to refine them in the light of divine guidance and communal insight. For clarification that begins with sincerity must mature with strategy, and strategy requires thinking together before speaking apart. Let us now look at knowledge-based circles, reviving the mosque as a lighthouse. But before that, please give me a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The masjid, the house of God, was never intended to be a silent structure of rituals alone. It was, in the prophetic age, a center of life, a place of learning, a place of strategy, a place of solidarity, a place of justice, a place of connection, and it must be so again. Imam Khamenei calls for the revival of knowledge-based circles within our places of worship. These are not to be limited to the Friday sermons or the Ashura majalis. They must become ongoing gatherings where hearts are nurtured and minds are illuminated. After the prayers or between them, the pulpit must not be used just to admonish, but rather to educate. In the Quran, in Surah An-Nur, the chapter of light, 24th chapter of the Quran, verse number 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, in houses God is allowed to be raised and wherein His name is remembered. These houses must be filled with the light of remembrance, not only in tongue, but in understanding. The idea is simple, but at the same time, it is profound. A scholar, a teacher, or a knowledgeable youth stands after prayer or at an agreed time and begins to discuss, explain, and open up the meaning of hadith or Quran, ethical matters, or an ideological issue. Questions are invited, thoughts are exchanged, and a bond of learning is formed. These circles do not need grandeur. A whiteboard, a short booklet, a table, and a few sincere attendees. That is enough to ignite change. These circles create ripples, and those ripples become waves. In contrast to this revival, many of today's mosque leaders, as Imam Khamenei laments, are satisfied with the bare minimum. They lead prayers, give the occasional reminder, and then khalas, they leave. But such leadership does not clarify. It barely maintains. It may preserve form, but it neglects transformation. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, and the Imams, peace and blessings be upon them all, were not caretakers of ritual. They were cultivators of meaning, and their mosques were places where Tabyeen was lived. In the Quran, in Surah Al-Fussilat, the chapter of the deciphered verses, 41st chapter of the Quran, verse number 33, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "And who speaks better than one who calls to God, acts righteously, and says, indeed, I am of those who submit." Let the mosque, let the masjid return to this vision. Let it become a lighthouse once more, not just a casting light, but drawing hearts to the shore. The knowledge-based circle is not a luxury. It is a sunnah. Indeed, it is a necessity. Please give me a salawat and we move on to media and content production, the art of modern clarification.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
So in our time, the battlefield of ideas is not limited to books and classrooms. It is found in films, in podcasts, in tweets, in short videos, reels, digital art, and social media platforms. Places where narratives are constructed, realities are distorted, and values are reshaped. If Tabyeen is to survive in this age, it must embrace not only what is said, but how it is expressed, and through which mediums. Imam Khamenei warns that the enemies of Islam have long mastered the use of art and media to undermine divine values. They have used cinema to glorify immorality, poetry to romanticize rebellion, literature to sow doubt, and storytelling to detach people from their sacred identity. So the question arises, will we allow this terrain to remain uncontested? In Quran, in Surah Al-Anfal, the chapter of the spoils of war, 8th chapter of the Quran, verse number 60, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "And prepare against them whatever you can of strength." In our era, strength includes narrative control, aesthetic power, and cultural fluency. It includes storytelling rooted in sincerity. It includes creating content that awakens the soul instead of lulling it into distraction. This is why content production must become a sacred duty. Let me say that again. This is why content production must become a sacred duty, not as random bursts of creativity, but as a deliberate system, a strategy that draws on our banks of knowledge, utilizes our talented youth, and partners scholars with creators to ensure truth is not only said, but rather it is seen. For what is more dangerous than a community with truth in its heart, but no voice in the world? The Quran itself is filled with narrative and visual imagery, from the tears of Yaqub, Jacob, to the fire of Abraham, Ibrahim, from the ship of Nuh or Noah, to the cave of the seven sleepers or the companions. God teaches not only with law, but with story, with symbolism, and with vision. Imam Khamenei notes that the events of our time, whether victories, massacres, movements, or awakenings, have not been recorded adequately. Where are the documentaries, the films, the novels, the visual archives of these moments? Where are the cinematic equivalents of Karbala, the poetic echoes of resistance, the artistic renderings of martyrdom and perseverance? The future generations, and even many amongst us now, are not reached by abstract arguments alone. They respond to what they feel, what they see, what they hear again and again and again in compelling form. Imam as-Sadiq, peace and blessings be upon him, is reported to have said, "The scholar who speaks to people, sits in gatherings, clarifies truth, and exposes falsehood, he is engaged in the greatest jihad." Today, this gathering must include YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, cinema halls, digital classrooms, podcasts, and much more besides. To abandon these spaces is to cede the ground to distortion. So we must build teams. We must refine messages. We must study trends. We must train creatives. And above all, we must produce with purpose. We do not seek attention. We seek impact. And impact comes when sincerity meets skill. Please give me a salawat and we move on to the conclusion.
اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
So let us look at a method that mirrors the message. Clarification is not simply a responsibility of speech. It is a form of spiritual discipline. It is an act of ibadah that demands the same sincerity, the same thoughtfulness and submission that we bring to prayer. And just as our prayer must reflect the majesty we stand before, our methods of clarification must reflect the sanctity of the message that we bear. We do not deliver the truth to win debates. We clarify to heal confusion, to protect hearts, and honor the covenant of guidance that has reached us through the blood of martyrs and the sweat of scholars. From the verses of the Quran to the counsels of the Imams, from the lessons of Karbala to the legacy of modern resistance, the message is consistent. Clarity must be accompanied by character. Truth must be transmitted through trust. Imam Khamenei's guidance calls us to structure this duty with precision and devotion, whether through strategic gatherings that organize minds, intellectual committees that anticipate ideological warfare, knowledge-based circles that revive our mosques, indirect methods that soften resistant hearts, or media and content that awaken the numbed and distracted. Each of these is not just a tool. It is an amana, a trust, and we will be questioned on how we carried it. In Quran, Surah Al-Asr, the chapter of time, 103rd chapter of the Quran, verses 1 to 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "By the time, indeed, man is in a state of loss, except those who believe, do righteous deeds, and enjoin one another to truth, and enjoin one another to patience." Tabyeen is part of this divine prescription. Tawassi bil-haq, mutual counsel in truth. So let our speech mirror the sincerity of our cause. Let our strategy reflect the wisdom of our teachers. And let our methods match the honor of the message we carry. A message that has come to us through the tears of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, the blood of Imam Hussein, the silence of Imam Hassan, and the resistance of Sayyidah Zainab. O God, make us among those who clarify with care, speak with sincerity, act with understanding, and reform our communities with patience and insight. Let our words be light, and our methods be mercy, and our voices echo the legacy of those who stood for truth when the world stood in shadows. Please give me a salawat, and we move on to the supplication eulogy, which tonight is entitled The One Who Never Drank.
اللهم صل
اللهم صل على
محمد
محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
In his name, the Lord of the martyrs and the truthful. O God, send your blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. O God, tonight we stand by the riverbank, but our hands do not reach the water, because he, the one who went to fetch it, never returned. Abul Fadhl al-Abbas, son of Ali, brother of Hussein, moon of the family of Hashim. O my Lord, you created him with arms of strength and a heart carved from loyalty. From the day he opened his eyes, he stood between his brother and the world. He was not just a soldier, he was a shield, a storm held back by love. And on that day when thirst clawed at the throats of the children, and the tents whispered for water, he did not wait. He mounted his steed, he raised his banner, and he rode to the river. O God, he reached it. He dipped his hand into the Euphrates, but did he drink? No. He looked at the water and he whispered, O soul, after Hussein, you are worth nothing. Shall I drink while my master is thirsty? And he threw the water away. O my Lord, on his way back, water skin in hand, they ambushed him. A blow took his right arm, then the left, and he cried, By God, even if you cut off my arms, I will never abandon my religion, nor the Imam who is trustworthy and truthful. He held the water skin in his teeth, bleeding, staggering, still moving toward the tents. But an arrow struck the bag, and another, his eye. Then came the iron mace, and the moon fell. O Hussein, what did you feel when you reached your brother lying broken on the sand? You placed his head in your lap, but he moved it away. Why, my brother? Because now it is in your lap, but soon whose lap will cradle your head when they strike your neck? And when the Imam returned to the camp, he did not say, the water is gone. He said, my back is broken. O God, let our loyalty be like this. Let our courage be like his. Let our thirst be for the truth, and our heart and our arms never stretch towards falsehood. And if we fall, let it be for no banner but the banner of Hussein. O Abul Fadhl, O quencher of the thirsty, O gateway to needs, intercede for us with God. O God, make us of the banner bearers, the loyal ones, and the walkers of the path of the pure. Tonight we remember the one who never drank, the one who lost his arms, but never his honor, the one who gave his soul, not for water, but for love. Tonight we cry for Abbas, and we whisper to him, may we never abandon our Hussein, just as you never did. وآخر دعواني على الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We now move to the eulogy or Maqtal segment of our program, where we remember the epic of Ashura and the stand of Imam Hussein, as well as his family and companions. A Maqtal is essentially a eulogy, or remembering of the epic of Ashura, so as to learn from it, but also to develop an emotional connection to Imam Hussein. This is also designed to educate us and to embed the message of Imam Hussein into our hearts. Mourning and weeping is normal during the Maqtal, and indeed it is something blessed, for when a person listens to and reflects on the tragedy that befell not just Imam Hussein, but rather that befell Islam, a mere 50 years after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his family, truly it is heartbreaking. The Maqtal this evening will be the martyrdom of Abul Fadhl al-Abbas. This segment will be available on The Martyr, located at www.themartyr.net.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam was the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima bint Hizam, commonly referred to as al-Baneen. Abbas was the commander-in-chief and flag-bearer of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's army in Karbala and is highly revered for his loyalty and bravery. Amongst the popular titles of Hazrat Abbas are Abul Fadhl, meaning father of virtue, and Qamar Bani Hashim, meaning the full moon of the Hashemites. Following the martyrdom of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, Imam Ali was looking to get married to a lady from a good lineage who would give birth to brave and courageous children. He consulted his brother Aqil ibn Abi Talib, who was an expert in Arab genealogy, to find him a suitable wife. Aqil suggested a lady by the name of Fatima bint Hizam bint Khalid, who was from the Bani Kilab tribe, whose men were amongst the most brave and courageous of the Arabs. When the proposal came, the tribe elders received, they were honored to have the Prophet's brother as their son-in-law. When Fatima bint Hizam entered the house of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he referred to her as Fatima. However, she saw the look of sadness on the faces of the children who remembered their mother, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Instead, she asked Imam Ali alayhi salam to refer to her as al-Baneen, meaning mother of the children. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam was the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima bint Hizam, al-Baneen. Abbas was the commander-in-chief and flag-bearer of the army in Karbala. From the time of their birth, Lady al-Baneen always taught their sons to never see themselves as the equals of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, as she always saw herself as a maidservant of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. When Abbas was born, the first thing he saw was the face of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He remained by the side of Imam Hussein alayhi salam throughout his life, always acting as a protector and defender of his older brother. In the Battle of Siffin, when Abbas was just a young boy, he fought bravely, killing many of the enemy's forces. During the battle, Abbas wore a face covering to hide his identity, and many on the enemy's side assumed that this was Imam Ali alayhi salam who had been fighting. Abbas finished the battle and returned back to the tent, and Imam Ali alayhi salam came out to greet him. The enemy were astonished and wanted to know who had been fighting so courageously. Imam Ali alayhi salam removed the face covering, and all the enemies saw that it was Abbas. As Imam Ali alayhi salam was about to leave this world due to the effects of the head injury caused by Ibn Muljim's poisoned sword, he told all the family members to place their hand in the hand of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. However, Abbas was told to place his hand in the hand of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Medina for Makkah, on his way to Karbala, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam accompanied his brother. Upon leaving Makkah, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam delivered an important sermon from the roof of the Kaaba, addressing the pilgrims who had gathered for Hajj. All praise be to the Almighty Allah, who honored this house, the Holy Kaaba, because of his, Imam Hussein's father, and set it as the Qibla of the Muslims, which till then was only a house. O evil creatures and infidels, you closed the way of this house for the pious and holy Imam. You closed the way upon one who is more worthy and nearer to this house than anyone else. If it was not for the will of the Almighty Allah, the divine mystery and divine test, then surely the house of Allah would have moved towards the Imam for touching her blessed hands, while the people touching the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. If my master, Imam Hussein, was not in conformity with the will of Allah, I would have attacked you like an angry eagle attacking a sparrow in the air, and would have sacrificed my life for my pious leader. You threaten a brave man who has not been fearful of death even at childhood, and considered it a sport. Never. Think and see who is the one who drinks wines, in bracket Yazid, and who is the owner of Kawthar, drinking pond in heaven, Imam Hussein. Ponder and see in whose house drinking of alcohol and dancing by women is common, Yazid, and in whose house it is witnessed revelation of Holy Quran. Ponder and see in whose house is corruption and evil, and whose house is found purity and verses of Holy Quran. You are heading towards the same wrong way that the Quraysh went. They planned to kill the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you too plan to kill his grandson, as they couldn't do anything to him during Amir al-Mu'mineen's era. You plan to kill his. You cannot implement your scheme against Imam Hussein as long as I am alive. Know that you cannot succeed in your evil intention unless you kill me first. I hope you will not achieve your evil aim, and may the wrath of Allah be on you, your forefathers and sons forever. On the evening of Ta'su'ah, the day before Ashura, Shimr bin Dhiljoshan from the enemy approaches the camp of Imam Hussein alayhi salam with letters of amnesty for Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and his brothers. Abbas did not wish to meet him. However, upon the insistence of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he agreed to do so. Shimr tells Hazrat Abbas, I have brought letters of amnesty from Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad for you and your brothers. We are from the same tribe as your mother, so I do not wish to fight against you. Abbas asked him, is there amnesty for the son of Zahra? Shimr replies, no, this is only for you and your brothers. I got special permission from Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam reacts angrily, tearing up the letter and throwing it at Shimr. Curse be upon your amnesty and curse be on you. We will never abandon the son of Zahra. On the day of Ashura, Hazrat Abbas sends his brother Abdullah, Jafar and Uthman to the battlefield, telling them, O sons of my mother, you go ahead so that I see you have a purified goal for Allah and his messenger. Abdullah went into the battle and fought severely before he was killed after an exchange of swords with Hani ibn Thubayt al-Hadrami. Jafar, the second brother, enters the battle and he too was killed by Hani. Finally, Uthman enters the battle and is shot by an arrow fired by Kholi bin Yazid and is attacked and beheaded by a man from Banu Darim clan. Imam Hussein's companions and family, one by one, entered the battlefield and were martyred. Finally, Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam was left alone alongside Imam Hussein alayhi salam, with all the members of the army having reached martyrdom. Abbas told his brother, Master, do I have permission to enter the battlefield? However, Imam Hussein alayhi salam told him, O Abbas, how could I let you go to fight? You are the standard bearer of my army. Hazrat Abbas turns towards Imam Hussein and says, O Master, where is the army? They have all been martyred. Water had been cut off to the camp of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the children had been thirsty for several days. 4-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein, Sakina, approaches her uncle Abbas, clutching her empty water sack, and asks him, "Oh, my uncle Abbas, all the children are dying of thirst. Will you bring us some water?" Hazrat Abbas looks at his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who tells him, "I give you permission to bring water for the children." Abbas takes the water sack from Sakina, attaches it to his standard, and prepares to mount his horse. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam says his farewells to the family and promises the children that he will soon return back with water. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam rushes to see Abbas and tells him, "Oh Abbas, are you really leaving? I remember that once my father Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam told me, oh Zainab, you will be paraded in the streets of Kufa and Damascus without a veil." I often wondered how this would happen when I have a brother as brave and courageous as Abbas. But now I am certain that this will happen. O Abbas, that I which used to sleep peacefully will remain awake, and that I which used to remain awake will sleep peacefully. Sakina gathers together the children, all of them waiting anxiously for Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam to return so they can drink the cool water. Abbas sets out to get water from the river, carrying the flag and the water sack. He fights like a ferocious lion, cutting through the enemy ranks, and reaches the Euphrates. Abbas sees the cool fresh water and takes some in his hand. He then remembers the thirst of his brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam and tells himself, "O Abbas, how could you drink from this water when your master is thirsty?" Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam fills the water sack and begins returning back to the camp. Umar ibn Sa'd gives the order that not a single drop of water should reach the camp of Imam Hussein. Abbas is now being attacked from all sides. However, he is focused on protecting the water. An enemy, Hakim bin Tufail al-Sumbusi, hiding in a palm tree, hits Hazrat Abbas from behind, severing his right arm. He grabs the water sack in his left hand and recites the following couplet: "By Allah, if they cut off my right hand, I will never abandon my religion." Abbas continues fighting. However, a short while later, another enemy, Hakam bin Tufail at-Tai, comes from behind another palm tree and severs his left arm. Abbas utters the following couplet: "O my soul, do not fear the unbelievers and be blessed by the mercy of great God and being with the noble Prophet. These people cut my left hand unjustly. My Lord will drop them in the flames of hell." Abbas takes the water sack in between his teeth and carries on riding, holding the standard between his legs. At this point, Karbala, who was the main archer in Umar bin Sa'd's army, fires an arrow and it hits Abbas in the eye. He still moves forward, but this time Karbala sends another arrow, which hits the water sack, causing all the water to fall to the ground. Abbas loses hope and tries to turn his horse around to head back to the river. However, he's struck by Hakam bin Tufail at-Tai, causing him to fall from his horse to the ground. Hazrat Abbas now calls out, "O my master, please accept my final farewell." Imam Hussein alayhi salam hears the cry and rushes into the battlefield. He sees Hazrat Abbas lying in the sand and places his head on his lap, but Abbas places his head back on the sand. Imam Hussein asks, "O Abbas, do you not like to keep your head in my lap?" Abbas replies, "No, master, but when you are martyred, there will be nobody to take your head in their lap." Then Abbas makes his final requests from Imam Hussein. "My master, the first person I saw when I was born was you. I have an arrow in my left eye, and the right eye is filled with blood. Could you please clean my right eye so that I could see you one last time?" Imam Hussein alayhi salam cleans the eye of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and looks in his face. Then he says, "O master, I have another request. I wish that you leave my body here and don't take me back to the tent, as I am too ashamed. I promised to bring Sakina water, but I was unable to fulfill my promise." Imam Hussein alayhi salam then turns to his brother and tells him, "I too have a request from you as well. From the time you were born, you always refer to me as master. I wish that you call me brother one time." Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam turns his face towards Imam Hussein and calls out, "O my brother," and attains martyrdom. Imam Hussein cries out, "Now my back is broken." Imam Hussein alayhi salam collects the standard with the torn water sack and begins riding back. Sakina sees the standard and gathers the children, expecting to see her uncle. However, Imam Hussein alayhi salam returns alone. When Sakina realizes that her uncle is martyred and will not return, she cries out, "O my uncle Abbas, I will never ask for water again. I only wish that you return back to me." Peace be upon you, O son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Peace be upon you, O righteous servant of Allah and obedient to Allah and His Messenger. I testify that you did jihad and were patient until death came to you. So Allah's curse be on the group who killed you from the first to the last, and may that they be in hell forever. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٌ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ صلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Now we will have lamentations, commonly known as Nohe or Latmiya in Muslim culture. These again are in English. These are poetry put to a tune, a type of song, a lamentation. These can be listened to with reflection and thought, and as per the cultural norm within most Muslim cultures and societies, there is the gentle beating of the chest in mourning as the lamentation proceeds. This beating of the chest is known as matam. It should be noted that this is not something that should draw blood or cause harm. Rather, it is a manifestation of grief on the part of the listener as they are moved by the words of poetry. The lamentation for this evening is named Ode to Abbas. This segment will be available on Shia Sounds, located at www.shiasounds.com.
the hour has come, that scene of dread, our souls bereaved, alas, our restless sleep, our broken hearts, our voices cry out, Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar, Amir al-Mu'minin, said he, pray look at sweet Hussein, your brother, though, oh, take his hand, your master now shall reign. So close were they, yet Abbas would serve him like a slave. Hussein's sweet voice would warm his heart, his righteous words would crave. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. A fearsome warrior he became, the image of Ali, defender of the true Islam, his sword renowned would be, echoed through time those sacred words from dear Rasulullah. Hussein's of me, and I of Hussein. Love for us must be in your heart. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. The years did pass, then came the day, no longer could there be peace. God's holy word and the Ahlul Bayt rejected I found Yazid. Now on that plain of Karbala, our brothers were besieged. Abbas did plead to join the fight, but Hussein would not concede. Abbas did witness one by one, defenders torn limb from limb. Abbas cried out, "Oh sweet Hussein, I'll finish this tyrant-ship." Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. Hold fast, Abbas cried out Hussein, a lesson must be learned. Grave is the loss for believing souls, lest patient hearts we earn. Their eyes now are all filled with tears, astonished Abbas, the enemy so filled with hate, hypocrisy was their mask. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. The enemy so cruel and vile, they fought without remorse, 'neath horses' hoof and sword and spear, they screamed the foulest curse. Then from the midst of screams and blood, the pain, the death, and the dust, Sakina's parched voice rang out, I'm weakened by my thirst. The mother of the martyrs then from heaven she did weep. The angels bowed unto the throne, the dead would rise from sleep. Oh, go and fetch the water now. Sakina's thirst shall be quenched. Hussein, he knew that the martyrdom of Abbas had now commenced. Abbas went out with just the speed to help him on his path. He reached the water, but there he found murderers filled with wrath. He filled the vessel from Furat. The enemy they breathed, no water may reach the tents, lest Hussein bow down and yield. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamgar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. The enemy crashed blow on blow, the cruelest, torturous deed. They tore the arms from brave Abbas. How pitifully he did bleed. The water flowed upon the ground. Abbas cried out to Hussein, oh, hide Sakina's precious eyes. My trials bring me such pain. Oh, gently rest within my arms. Hussein did tend his wounds. Blinded Abbas with his own sweet blood, Hussein his brow did soothe. My master, let me see your face. My time has come to an end. Naught left but loss, my heart will break, lest you the oppressed defend. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. Oh, sweet Abbas, before you leave, allow me one request. Oh, call me brother, is all I ask. For ye go to your rest. Oh, tears in heaven wept were they, so painful was the scene. The glowing moon of the Hashemites could never now be redeemed. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. All praise belongs unto Allah, whose decrees none can prevent, whose handiwork and sacred gifts no other may implement. O freer of the prisoners, O provider for the child, O God of fearful refugees, you never will be denied. So set your eyes upon Abbas, the steadfast, loyal and true. Seek nearness unto Allah, a righteous life pursue. Patience and love and sacrifice brought victory to Hussein. By steadfast love of the Ahlul Bayt, our life shall never be in vain. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, alas, Ya Alamdar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar. Alas, Abbas, Ya Abul Fadhl, Alas ya alamgar, the standard bearer of Hussein, beloved of Haydar, beloved of Haydar.
The final item in our program is the Communion of Ashura. This is a contemporary, poetic, interpretive translation of the well-known salutations to Imam Hussein known as Ziyarat Ashura, or the Visitation of Ashura. The Truth Promoters Group, in a world first, has taken the content of Ziyarat Ashura and translated it in a modern, poetic, and most importantly, interpretive manner, both so that it is understandable to the English-speaking audience, but also so that it helps with the understanding of this profound visitation. This segment will be available on Shia Sounds, located at www.shiasounds.com.
Peace be upon you, O Hussein, beloved of the Prophet, lifeblood of his message, bearer of sorrow, breaker of chains. Peace be upon you, O son of the messenger of God, whose footsteps you followed into the fire so we might walk free beneath the sky. Peace be upon you, O son of Ali, Lion of God, fountain of courage. You stood as he stood, firm against a world of betrayal. Peace be upon you, O son of Fatima, light of her eyes, echo of her prayer. Through your grief, the purity of your mother lives on. O Hussein, they gave everything, so we might remember who we are. Peace be upon you, O one whose blood cries out for divine justice. O son of the martyrs whose stand still shakes the heavens. You the lonely one, unmatched, a solitary star surrounded by a night of betrayal. Peace be upon you and upon the souls who remained beside you, those who encamped in your courtyard, whose bones became the boundary of your shrine. O Hussein, how I long to be among them, to have knelt in your dust, waiting for your command, to have fallen with your name on my lips, to belong to your tent, to never leave your side, not in this world, nor the next. Let the peace of God be upon you and them, always. As long as I breathe, and night and day continue their rhythm, my soul is yours. O Aba Abdullah, your tragedy was not only ours. The skies themselves wept, the stars dimmed, and the angels fell silent in horror. What they did to you, they do still. To every free voice, to every defiant heart that says no to tyranny. They silenced your cry in Karbala and echoed it in Gaza, in Kashmir, in the broken streets of Damascus, and in the gilded rooms of Washington, Tel Aviv, London, where power matters more than people, where blood is cheap and honor is nothing. And yet, the people sleep. They binge distraction while the earth burns. They scroll through laughter while the children starve. They cheer for tyrants masked as leaders and do not see the caravan of Hussein. Still walking, still bleeding, still calling us to wake. O Hussein, the calamity is great, but our forgetfulness may be even greater. May God distance from His mercy those who built the house of tyranny stone by stone, calling it governance, calling it religion, but laying it on the bones of the oppressed. May He cast far from His mercy those who stripped you, O people of the house, of the stations that were your divine due, and gave them to cowards, frauds and liars in robes. May He exclude from His mercy those who murdered you with steel and those who murdered truth with silence. And may He cast away all who make room for tyranny, who excuse it, who fund it, who defend it in panels and parliaments. O Hussein, may He cast away those who smile while others starve, who speak of reform while breaking the backs of the weak, who let the sick die while guarding the wealth of the rich, who kill the unborn in the name of comfort and the elderly in the name of mercy. They are today's court of Yazid, still robed in piety, still drunk on blood. And I want nothing of them, nothing. I wash my hands before God and before you, O Hussein, of them, of their followers, of their allies, of every voice that justified their crimes, every pen that signed their decrees, every tongue that stayed silent while they spilled your blood. O Aba Abdullah, I am with those who are with you. My peace is only for those who loved you, who lived and died by your name. And I am at war with those who stood against you, in every age, in every land, in every disguise. Whether they wore crowns or turbans, held swords or microphones, built palaces or platforms. I am at war with them until the day when all masks fall. My God, cast far from His mercy the house of Ziyarat, a dynasty of cruelty dressed as order, and the house of Marwan, masters of deceit, who poisoned revelation with ambition. May he cast out the Umayyads, all of them, every name, every banner, every doctrine of power that drowned prophecy in politics. May he cast away Ibn Marjan, the bureaucrat of blood, and Umar ibn Sa'd, who traded eternity for a piece of land, and Shim, that beast who laughed at the tears of Zainab. And may he reject those who prepared for this slaughter, those who saddled their beasts, buckled their weapons, and veiled their faces, not in shame, but in resolve. They marched not by force, but by choice. O Hussein, their faces change, but their paths remain. They still ride out today in uniforms, in suits, in think tanks and war rooms, crushing your name wherever it rises. And I stand apart from all of them, and I name them so that their silence will never bury your screams. May my father be your ransom. May my mother be your ransom. O Hussein, what they did to you has broken me. My heart is heavy with your grief. My soul aches with the weight of your absence. And yet, even in my mourning, I am honored. For God lifted me through you. He let me know your name. He made your sorrow my compass. So I beg him, the one who raised your station in the world and raised my soul through your love, let me rise for you. Let me be among those who avenge your blood, not with blind fury, but under a guided banner, a victorious Imam, a descendant of your house, a voice that carries your cry into the end of time. Let my hand be with his. Let my heart be ready. Let me be worthy of your justice. O God, make me honored in your sight, not because of who I am, but because I loved Hussein. Let his name be my key, his memory my robe, his cause my shield, his tears my passport to you. Let me walk in this world carrying his light, and let me stand in the next world with his name upon my lips, a name that you love, a soul that you elevated, a martyr whose blood wrote the meaning of honor. By Hussein, make me worthy of your nearness in this fleeting world and in the world that endures. O Aba Abdullah, I seek nearness to God, but not through neutrality, not through slogans, not through prayers that ignore the oppressed. I seek nearness through you, through the prophet who kissed you, through the father who raised you, through the mother who wept for you, through the brother who stood beside him. I draw close to the divine by loving you, and by disavowing those who drew swords against you, who declared war on your truth, who institutionalized injustice and dressed it in piety. I disown before God and His messengers every hand that laid the first stone of oppression, every architect of injustice, every regime built on your blood. I walk away from all of it, from every path that led to your murder, even if it now wears a new name, a new crown, a new constitution. Your cause is my prayer. Your war is my witness. Your love is my path to God. I renounce them before God and before you, O Hussein. I cut all ties with those who wronged you, and those who walked beside them, and those who came after them and carried their banners. I seek nearness to God through your light, through loyalty to you and your chosen ones, to your friend, your witness, your inheritance. And I distance myself from your enemies, from those who raised armies against you, from those who plotted in back rooms, signed decrees, or stood idly by as your blood flowed. I distance myself from their shadows, from their supporters, from their media machines, from their apologizers and diplomats, from all who softened their crimes or mimicked their structures. O Hussein, to love you means to oppose what killed you, always, everywhere, in every generation. I am with those who are with you, O Hussein. I am with those who are with you, O Hussein. I walk beside the ones who love you, who carry your truth in their hearts, who defend your memory not only in words but in action. And I am against those who stand against you, no matter their flag, their religion, their language, their disguise. I am your ally, and the ally of those who align with your cause, those who choose dignity over comfort, clarity over compromise, blood over betrayal. And I am an enemy to your enemies, to their rhetoric, to their institutions, to their logic, to their entire way of being. You are the axis, you are the criterion. To love you is to take a side forever. Oh God, you honored me beyond what I deserve. For you let me know Hussein. You let me recognize the friends of Hussein. You opened my eyes to the deceit of his enemies and gave me the strength to walk away from them. So now I beg you, let me be amongst your friends, not just in love, but in cause. not just in belief, but in destiny. Let me live in their path. Let me die upon their path. Let me rise with them when you raise the dead. Plant my feet among theirs, a footing of truth that does not shake with fear, does not slip in temptation, does not bow before oppressors. Let me be theirs in this life and in the life that never ends. And I ask you, O God, let me reach that radiant place, the honored station that you have reserved for them. Let me be drawn near in their light. Let my name be spoken in the halls of truth, not for who I am, but because I stood for Hussein. And grant me the honor to seek justice, not from anger, but from love. To rise and answer the call, to be among the soldiers of your final proof, a guiding imam from their blood, visible and unafraid, speaking truth in an age of noise. Let me see him, let me serve him, let me die at his side, with the name of Hussein still burning upon my lips. And I ask you, O God, by their right, by the place they hold in your nearness, by the rank you gave them above all others, let my sorrow not be wasted. Let these tears be not mere water, but offerings. Let my broken heart be a prayer, my mourning a ladder. Reward me through this grief with the greatest reward you have ever given to one struck by tragedy. For what greater loss was there? What wound ever bled like this one? What blow shook Islam and the very heavens and the earth as deeply as the slaying of Hussein? This is not just my sadness. It is your grief, O God, reflected in my soul. So let that reflection never fade. O God, here I stand, heart heavy, eyes wet, soul trembling. I am not worthy, but I am here. So in this very moment, in this divine place of mourning, in this sacred remembrance of Hussein, wrap me in your mercy. Let your peace and blessing descend upon me. Let your compassion find me. Let your forgiveness embrace me. Let this moment mark me. Let this grief cleanse me. Let this loyalty exalt me. Let me not leave this remembrance the same as I entered it. Oh God, let my life be like theirs, not in ease, but in meaning. Let me live as Muhammad lived, in mercy, in truth, in struggle for justice. Let me walk the path of his family with clarity, with courage, with compassion. And let my death be like theirs, a testimony, a stand, a submission to you alone. Let me not be remembered for comfort, but for conviction. Let me not die in distraction, but in devotion. O God, write me among those who lived and died under the banner of Muhammad and his purified family. O God, this day, the day of mourning, the day of blood upon sand, the day when your Prophet's family was butchered. They called it a blessing. The tyrants rejoiced. Bani Umayyah celebrated. Yazid, the son of the liver eater, the one whose heart was dark with vengeance, he danced on the chest of Hussein. He who was excluded from your mercy and whose mother chewed the flesh of the righteous was praised in the courts of power. But you cursed them, O God, and so did your Prophet. From every pulpit, in every stance he ever made for truth. This is not politics. This is treason against mercy. And we remember, we name them, we stand apart from their legacy. Then, now, and forever. O God, remove from your mercy the one who plotted, the one who schemed, the one who sealed the deal. Abu Sufyan, the enemy who smiled and waited. Muawiyah, the serpent in the cloak of unity. Yazid, the drunken tyrant who trampled prophecy. Make your distance from them be eternal as their betrayal. May your rejection of them never cease. For this is the day that they rejoiced. The day Ziyarat and Marwan raised their glasses, laughed while Zainab wept, boasted of killing Hussein as a victory. God, they rejoiced in his death. Let them not rejoice in your presence. Multiply their estrangement. Amplify their punishment. Let the pain they inflicted return to them, not out of hatred, but out of divine justice. O God, I'm not just remembering history, I'm walking towards you. This day, this stand, this moment of grief is my offering. Through my rejection of their killers, through my disavowal of their empire, through my refusal to forget, I seek your nearness. Let my righteous wrath and supplication that you exclude them from your mercy be a lantern. Let my sorrow be a stairway. Let my refusal to compromise be worship. And through all of this, I reaffirm my loyalty to your Prophet and to the ones he wept for. The family he held closest, the blood he told us never to forget. But my love is not empty. It is not ritual or poetry or song alone. To love them is to follow them, to walk where they walked, to rise where they rose, to stand across generations against the same arrogance, the same injustice, the same godless empires in new disguises. It is to love as they loved, to resist as they resisted, to live as they lived, and to die as they died. This is not just love, it is allegiance, it is a covenant. And in this moment I renew my vow in word, in soul, and in stance. O God, exclude from your mercy the first tyrant who trampled upon the right of Muhammad's family, the one who planted the seed of betrayal, who saw power and chose it over truth. He opened the gate, and many rushed through after. So exclude the last one who follows his path, every imitator, every modern version, every politician or preacher who builds on that first distortion. O God, exclude from your mercy the clique who rose against Hussein. They weren't just soldiers, they were planners, they were influencers, they wrote articles, gave speeches, signed treaties, justified tyranny. They supported, they pledged, they obeyed, they killed. And that betrayal continues. Even today, there are those who wear black for Hussein, but stand with the very systems that killed him. They claim to mourn him, but their silence defends Yazid. Their fear enables tyranny. Their alliances stab the heart of his son, the awaited one. O God, how many claim to wait for the Mahdi, while crushing every cause he would rise for? So exclude from your mercy all who inherit this legacy, not just in name but in action. Those who held the swords, those who carried the ink, those who watched and said nothing, and those who still do. In robes, in suits, in silence. This is not hatred, this is honesty. This is cleansing the record. This is standing beside Hussein and saying, we have not forgotten and we have not been deceived. Peace be upon you, O Aba Abdullah. Peace be upon your shattered body, your thirsty lips. Peace be upon you, O Aba Abdullah. Peace be upon your shattered body, your thirsty lips, your prostration upon the burning earth. Peace be upon the souls that encamped in your courtyard. Peace be upon the souls that encamped in your courtyard, not for shade or safety, but to die beside truth. From me to you, an unending peace. As long as I breathe, as long as night follows day, my heart is turned towards Karbala. And may God never make this the last time I call your name. Never the last time I whisper your pain or walk the road that leads to your banner. Peace be upon you, O Hussein, and upon Ali your son, the patient one, the broken prisoner, the speaking tongue of grief. And peace be upon your children, cut down in their bloom, buried in blood, rising in light. And peace upon your companions, who gave more than words, who gave more than tears, who gave themselves. And in this very breath, as I send peace to you, I pledge my soul to your son, the Qari, on who will rise, of your blood, the Mahdi, the one who will rise to avenge your name. My allegiance is not in slogans, it is in obedience. It is in sacrifice. It is in unwavering loyalty. Until he returns, my allegiance is with his deputy, the righteous leader who guards his path, the Wali al-Faqih, guardian of your legacy, guide of this ummah. I follow what they command, I walk where they lead, I do not waver, for we are the children of the covenant, the ones who said, among the believers are men who have been true to their covenant with God. Some of them have fulfilled their vow, and others still await, but they have never changed in the least. And I say now, O Hussein, count me among them. O God, begin from me the exclusion from your mercy. For the first one who violated the right of Muhammad and his family, let it begin with him and extend to the second and the third and the fourth. Exclude from your mercy Yazid and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad and Ibn Marjan and Umar ibn Sa'd and Shim, and not just them, but all those who carry their traits, those who betray truth, who serve tyranny, who give sermons that silence resistance, who wear robes while enabling injustice. The house of Abu Sufyan, the house of Ziyad, the house of Marwan are not just of blood, they are of action. And we ask you, O God, to exclude from your mercy every manifestation of that betrayal, past, present, and future, as long as night follows day. And now, O God, we do not ask you for heaven. We do not ask you for palaces or gardens. We do not seek reward. We seek you. We ask only for your pleasure, that you allow us to serve you, to work in your path, to stand for your truth, to live with dignity, to die with loyalty. Count us among those who have been true to their covenant, those who remembered the pledge made before time began and never turned away from it. Among the believers are men who have been true to their covenant with God. Some of them have fulfilled their vow, and others still await. But they have never changed in the least. O God, let us be of them. Let us die with Hussein's name on our tongues, and rise with the Mahdi's banner in our hands.
With the communion of Ashura, we bring our program to a close for this evening. God willing, we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, with His grace, for our program for the 8th of Muharram, 1447. We pray that He, God, accepts from us, and this has been useful, educational, and beneficial to the viewers. If you found this session useful, then please do subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends and family, and anyone else who you feel might find it useful and educational. Please also visit our website, www.truthpromoters.com, and from there you can find all of our sites and read the write-ups for the Quran verses, the couplets, the lectures, the eulogy or Maqtal, the lamentations, and of course the main lecture, as well as view the videos and listen to the audio. Peace be upon you, O Prophet of God. Peace be upon you, O Imam Hussein. Peace be upon the inheritor of Imam Hussein, our beloved Imam Mahdi. May our souls be his ransom. Peace and blessings to you and to all of God's righteous servants.